Dr. Linda, would you like to
So
share, please?
I'm going to share a few things and probably reiterate some of what the staff has already expressed. I think that for all of us in this room, working with women and children who have lived in extraordinary stressful situations, can agree that we are constantly faced with demanding challenges and that they require us to continue learning. And what you've heard from the staff today is that Epiphany Center is an innovative program, and that it's a program that is a model for others who want to work with women and young children, either those that are young and living with the mothers or those that are in out of placement, and that we help with reunification. What I've learned in working at Epiphany over the years is that substance use and dependence it's persistent substance use and dependence is often associated with mental health challenges. And the preferred method is treating both simultaneously. And additionally, I think whenever you have complex treatment, you can't overlook how the child needs to be a part of the cure. And that our children that come to Epiphany are born predisposed to stress and are constitutionally challenged. Judge Gale mentioned that we are a seeking safety, trauma-informed model of care, that what we emphasize is relationship-based secure-based therapeutic relationships. And that what we're aiming for is that the women find safety in our program, that they're able to make dependable connections and interpersonal relationships and strong attachments with their infants, thereby interrupting the intergenerational dynamics of relational trauma. What we know is that several of the women have experienced many traumas, and they even feel fearful after they've entered our program. And for some of the women, the trauma has become so conditioned and the fear is so conditioned that over time they are biased towards arousal. And a little bit of what Jayanne was talking about, one of our treatment strategies is to reduce that fear in the hopes that eventually those pathways will fade. I think that emotion regulation is a necessary component of the stress response. And it's a strategy that we use to regulate the women's strong emotions so that it frees them up to be able to be more emotionally attuned and being able to regulate the children and to make strong connections with the staff and women, because those strong emotional connections in and of themselves are emotionally regulated. Mm-hmm. Now, we can't overlook the fact that the babies that we serve are predisposed to stress. They're constitutionally challenged, and they're being cared for by a mother who is also newly in recovery and working on her own emotions and withdrawal from drugs. So we have a very at-risk dyad where the baby can easily plunder the mother's own ability to care for the baby. And what we know is that the babies are discharged, they're medically stable, they've already gone through withdrawal, but all of us know that when we see the babies, they continue to demonstrate this neurobehavioral disorganization. They tend to be irritable for a period of time, they tend to have poor sleep, they tend to have feeding difficulties. The parents often see, or the women often see, that they show tremors, they show jerky hand movements, and these are behaviors that the mothers often identify with their own withdrawing behaviors. And so to go in and provide that kind of parenting and support for the parents where they can be able to make sense out of behaviors is critical to their own recovery and critical to the baby's healing and recovery. I think that you've already seen and heard how the women have their individual recovery, and one of the important part of recovery is that they have parenting classes. And our parenting classes emphasize child development rather than child management. And they also emphasize how to respond to the infant's behaviors and need for co-regulation. I think lastly, what we know is that we have a number of on-site services for the babies themselves. We have a licensed childcare where the staff is trauma-informed. They also do developmental assessments, they do individual plans, and we have mental consultation where much of the treatment goals are implemented into the classroom, and those treatment goals follow throughout the whole agency because our team meets weekly and they meet daily. And at that time, we're looking for safety that can go across all programs. We also know that the babies have on-site pediatric care and they have on-site mental health treatment where the infants and mothers receive mother-infant psychotherapy, where the focus is on the attachment relationship and promoting ongoing development and improved developmental outcomes. I think that we know that recovery is possible. We've seen recovery, but we know that recovery is possible when the conditions are right for recovery. And that's why I think what has been spoken to earlier is that we have some programs that allow for the continuum of services once the women complete the recovery program. We have our step-down program, we have our ongoing child care program, we have our ongoing pediatric clinic, and we have our ongoing mental health program. And I think for those of us that continue to see the women and children over time, what we know is that even after program, they continue to experience ongoing environmental stressors. And these are our concerns. We see that 3 months may be a period where they can get off the substances. When we talk about the traumas and how that fear has been conditioned and the poor emotion regulation, we know that treatment and recovery takes a long time and in the most favorable conditions.
Thank you. And you hit on the supervision, and I have the honor to be at those 2-hour sessions every Tuesday afternoon where Dr. Linda meets with representatives from the residential staff and the recovery team to look at individuals, each woman individually. Also, every morning we have our morning huddle where we talk about what's going to happen during the day. And so there's a coordination and there's a sense. We pick up if there's anything going on in a woman that we have to pay particular attention to and give her additional support. I think what I pick up and what other staff see is a woman might come in with her head down and we gradually see a whole change in her demeanor and interactions. And I think when you said we get so many referrals from satisfied customers, I think that reflects that what they have gotten here. And I think they get that sense of community. When you said they get rewarded for being good in the community, it's our community that they are recognized for on those Fridays. Good. Anything else? What do you like about being here? What do you see about working here? Dr. Linda, you've been here 33 years. Why?
I have been in San Francisco my whole life. I first learned about drugs in the 60s after graduating from high school, and when I had friends come back from the Vietnam War. Many of them had experienced PTSD. Many of them were taking heroin as a treatment. So I've been around substances for 63 years, more or less. And I think that as we continue to face an epidemic crisis in drug use, unlike that I've ever witnessed, that I see the need to be able to completely, that as long as I'm still relevant, as long as I have this knowledge, as long as I'm still learning, this is a place and a population that I feel is the most worthy. And I think it's what Joji Gale said, it's an opportunity for me personally and selfishly to develop my compassion and my kindness and to work against being judgmental. And I love the fact that I work in an environment that has values and a spiritual core, because I think that that's critical in our work.
Right.
And I love the staff.
The reason why I'm here, I often tell people that I was called to work for Epiphany. I first started working for Epiphany in 2014 as a residential counselor, and then after a couple of years I left to pursue other interests, and then I came back in 2016, 17, and worked for about another year and a half, and then I left to pursue other interests, and then I'm back again. So, and I came back in 2022, and so now I'm here to stay. And what I've learned about myself is that I have a desire to help the women get better. I have a desire to help the women recover, and I want to be here to show them and to model that there is hope and that it is possible, and then I also want to be one of those people that pour into them the confidence that they will need, and I want them to know, based on my interactions with them, that they are worth it. I want to help build their self-esteem, because I know going through an addiction and recovering from that is hard. And it comes with a lot of shame, a lot of guilt. And I want to be one of the ones to help the women get over that, to get past that, and to get through that. So I want to help women recover. That's why I'm here.
Thank you. Anyone else want to?
I have a passion for advocating for the women, for connecting them with the community that they live in, to then be a part of their journey, even though they were just a stepping stone, and also witnessing the transformation from the beginning to the end, and even after that they leave here, go to our step down, and after staying at our step down and still be housed and still are connected with our child care and still see Dr. Linda and Tracy in the clinic. And so later on, it's one of those, it's a growth. It's not just something that I witnessed, but it's also in turn feeding what I like, this passion that I have. And I also think that being a part of a team that we really work well together and we communicate every single day, every minute. No client is ever, no client ever falls between the cracks here. We know where everyone is, where they are at a specific time, where their appointment is, who took them there. So it's accountability also on our end, that we know where we sent the women to, or we know that the women are in group, or we know that the women are either meeting with Dr. Linda or with Jayanne. So that also makes the women or the clients feel that they're also being taken care of while working so hard in their recovery.
Mm-hmm.
I think one of the things that, other than the transformation that our women go through, I do appreciate that we've grown as a program and that we are always trying to be better and be most in tune with what their needs are. And as they change, we try to change at the same time. We're, as a multiple disciplinary team, we're always constantly collaborating with one another about what their needs are and how we can approach them in the most trauma-informed way, compassionate way, and while also meeting the clients where they're at. So it is very case-by-case basis, but also as a program, how can we better ourselves? And that is something that in my history of, I've worked with teens and I've worked at other residential programs, and sometimes you don't feel that growth and you feel a little stuck. And so to be able to be a part of a team that is responsible for our growth is very, I think it just shows that we all definitely care, and I know that all the staff do care independently, and I don't have to worry about that.
Well, and I think it's reflected too in the stories, and they'll tell us the difference between here and other, I won't mention places, but, or the one woman who stayed in jail an extra month because we didn't have a place for her yet.
Right.
It's great. And they do research us online.
They do.
So I do think, I'm in favor of any recovery program that serves anyone in need. I also am clear that Epiphany Center stands apart because we are interrupting that cycle because children are our clients. So we put as much attention into the children as we do the mothers. And in doing so, we learn a lot about the mothers and we learn a lot about the children. And I think that that puts us into more of a developmental treatment model. And that's critical because many of the mothers that come to us have early childhood trauma. And that through their capacity to be able to be mothers to their children, it is an opportunity for them to work through some of that early trauma. And I think that that's what is different about Epiphany than any other program. That is the main, because there's many programs that serve women, but this is what makes us different.
Yeah, I think though, from what I hear from them, it's also, some of the places have held on to the more of the confrontive. And here, they don't get that. We don't re-traumatize.
It's trauma-informed.
Right.
That's what we talked about. We are always aware of how our women are in trauma often. And that when their nervous system gets biased towards arousal, it takes very little environmental stimuli to trigger that trauma response. And that trauma response is easily triggered when we're more directive and confrontational than when we're therapeutic and relational. So we are a relationship-based program.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.